Hi, welcome into Authentically Lovable You, a podcast on authenticity. So today's podcast session is going to be called Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Again, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Now, we remember this, most of us, because this was a part in a famous movie from Disney, Snow White. And this is what the evil queen said to little Snow White. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Now, we realize that when the evil queen said this, she had immense jealousy, envy, and evil towards little Snow White. Now, Snow White was very innocent, beautiful, captivating. So today what we're going to be talking about is how do we get into that place where we get involved in jealousy, what creates it, and how can we go about dealing with it or possibly healing with it. So again, this is the podcast on authenticity. So when we're walking in authenticity, we honestly want to take a look within ourselves, even for things that we may not want to look at, because that's a part of healing. And if you're truly working on your authenticity, you want to be real about yourself, okay? These feelings may come up. They lead to dangerous emotions, character traits that destroy relationships, and they unmask our own insecurities and lack of self-worth. So, first of all, the idea of jealousy, again, it's a destructive impact on our relationships and sense of self. And so we talked about mirror, mirror on the wall. And so when we look at a mirror, it reflects back to us what we see. And sometimes it reflects our inner insecurities and feelings onto others, particularly those who become our scapegoats. All right, so I've grown up with a lot of jealousy, and I've always played the black sheep in the group, especially with a particular group that I'm referencing, because I was different, and I always experienced jealousy, and I never understood it, and I still don't to this day. Why people get jealous. I was always, my belief system is that we accept people for who they are unconditionally. We may like them or not like them, but they're still people at the end of the day, and they have every right to be loved and appreciated. So I never understood jealousy. And I always was put in that place of people being jealous of me because of relationships I had with certain individuals. I eventually just moved on with it because I didn't take it on. They were projecting their insecurity to me. And just because people project their unhealed emotions onto you you are not required to accept that, okay? That's something in them that they need to address. So we're going to understand jealousy and its origins. Where does it come from? The roots of jealousy, all right? So in the psychology of jealousy, it often stems from feelings of inadequacy, fear of being left out, or unhealed wounds from the past, like I said. This could lead to the tendency to target others, like I referenced, particularly those who represent something we lack or feel threatened by. We need to look at self-reflection and accountability. Jealousy is a signpost to something deeper within us, and how taking accountability for those feelings is crucial to moving forward. We often deflect blame onto others to avoid confronting our own insecurities. So let's discuss the role of the black sheep. What is the black sheep? Individuals that are referred to as the black sheep are often unfairly targeted in groups, family, friendships, work, etc., and are scapegoated to make others feel better about their own shortcomings. How does it feel to be the target? it doesn't feel good at all, right? The behavior, the psychological impact that this behavior has on a black sheep creates feelings of isolation, rejection, and worthlessness. And you don't ever want to do that to another individual, all right? Because that's just wrong. Why does it happen? Jealousy and insecurity in others can lead to someone being unfairly targeted. People might even seek out the approval of those who cheer on their negative behavior, reinforcing the cycle, and we call that enabling. Masks and inauthenticity. How we hide who we really are. The masking behavior. Jealousy leads people to wear metaphorical masks, pretending to be someone they're not to fit in or gain validation. This includes putting on a front, downplaying our true feelings, or pretending everything's fine while our inner world is in turmoil. The dangers of wearing a mask. So wearing a mask, over time, this leads to a loss of identity and authenticity, and how it keeps us stuck in unhealthy patterns of behavior. People might prioritize keeping the peace over being truthful with themselves or others. This can also lead to codependency and enabling, as I discussed earlier. The cycle of negative reinforcement. What is codependency again? We've talked about this in other episodes. Surrounding yourself with people who enable or cheer on negative behavior leads to codependency. These are often relationships where one person thrives on the validation of others, and the enabler sacrifices their boundaries to maintain the status quo. Enabling jealous behavior. People who encourage jealousy or unhealthy behavior, either knowingly or unknowingly, prevent personal growth for everyone involved. The importance of boundaries. It is really essential to have boundaries in relationships and not follow others' negativity to influence our actions or self-worth. You also need to have boundaries in regards to, not being around people that gossip or target people, or, make someone or project to make someone else feel bad for the inappropriate actions that they carry. All right, we're all human beings. We all deserve to be treated fairly and respectfully. And so when you don't have boundaries, you just go along with the crowd and you become codependent as the person that's initiating the negative behavior. What are some action steps to break free and resolve the conflict? Well, first of all, self-awareness. The first step in resolving jealousy or toxic behavior is recognizing it in ourselves. Okay, reflect on your behavior. Have you targeted others out of jealousy? Have they allowed themselves to be influenced by people who enable negative behaviors? Now, most healthy people will walk away or in relationships or not respond to people that target them for their inappropriate behavior. Secondly, you need to take accountability. Take accountability for your actions. That can be through direct communication with those that they've hurt, or make intentional changes in your behavior. Authenticity. Start showing up authentically in your relationships. How do we do that? By being honest, setting boundaries, and letting go of the need for constant validation from others. True self-worth and true self-security in oneself comes from validating yourself. When we seek things outside of ourselves, then that leads to codependency. And we don't want to be in toxic relationships. So if we're really working on our authenticity, we look in that mirror, we see what we see, we take accountability, and we make things right. Rebuilding relationships. Repair relationships if they've been damaged by jealousy, scapegoating, or inauthentic behavior. This can include having vulnerable conversations, apologizing for past behavior, and being open to forgiveness. Surround yourself with positive influences. I want to encourage you to surround yourselves with people that encourage growth, authenticity, and emotional maturity. It's not emotionally mature to target and make someone a victim because you're overwhelmed by feelings of jealousy, which reflects your own insecurity and your lack of self-worth. Of course, this stems from, past issues that may have surfaced growing up, and that's something that you have to look into and heal from. It's really important that sometimes we have to necessarily distance ourselves from those who enable negativity. In conclusion, let me summarize our key points. Jealousy, accountability, inauthenticity, codependency, and breaking the cycle. You can break this cycle of jealousy, of envy, because it leads to evil. And we don't want to project onto someone and make them a target, which leads to them being a victim and gang stalking because you're getting a group of people to go against them. When in fact, all it's going to take is for you to look in the mirror, admit how you're feeling, and dig a little deeper as to why. And if you need outside help to get it. But don't pull everybody down with you when you enable them and it leads to codependency, because that's not fair for everybody involved. We want to grow in our authenticity. And when we're walking authentically, we look in that mirror, we have to be honest with ourselves first and foremost. All right? So we have to clear out that poison, all right, that toxicity, and say, what can I do to not seek outside validation or be so dependent upon outside approval, because that is codependency and that's people pleasing. And what can I do to heal? And if you're not sure of that, you can seek professional help. There's nothing wrong with that. So, a call to action. I want to challenge you. Reflect on your own relationships and behaviors over the next few weeks and take one step toward healing, whether it's starting a difficult conversation, setting a boundary, or simply acknowledging where they may have acted out of jealousy. Now, I typically take a step back, I set a boundary, and my boundary is to not be involved in toxic relationships. And toxic relationships involve codependency, enabling, negativity, being targeted, singling people out, gossip and slander and all that. So it's, the boundaries need to be in place to get to a healthy relationships, loving one another for who that person is, and not projecting how you're feeling inside with your own insecurity. So the final thought. I hope this was a hopeful message about the power of personal growth and the importance of nurturing genuine connections and relationships. But always remember, when we walk, we have this call to authenticity. It's very important because, you want to authentically begin to love yourself. And it's really hard to begin to love yourself authentically when you're not looking in the mirror at the person that you truly are. And we all have work to do, and it all starts with one small step. So remember, to be authentically lovable you means to take accountability, to honestly love yourself. And we've talked about this over the last year. If there's things about yourself that you want to work on, pick one and, find an accountability partner and start working on it. So I hope this message has inspired you, but continue to be in healthy relationships, and most of all, continue to be authentically lovable you.